everyone, it's Ann again from River City Soapworks, and today I'm going to be doing a beach themed cold process soap. I'll be using the Crafter's Choice fragrance called Beach, and to me it smells like summer. It smells like the beach. It has a little bit of a salty, sweet, sandy kind of smell. A lot of people say it smells like suntan lotion. I think it really just smells like summer, so I like it. It's a little late in the season for me to be doing this. We're to the second week of June, and this is always my downfall, is I always wait a little long, but there's still plenty of time in summer, so I'm going to go ahead and do this beach themed soap. So I've got my oils already mixed up and ready to go. I've got my lye water mixed, so we're going to go ahead and get that going. One thing, I've never used this beach fragrance oil before, but I've read reviews that it tends to accelerate trace. So I'm going to try to keep my trace really thin. I'm going to try to work with my colors at an emulsion stage, and then just add the fragrance oil right before I'm ready to get it into the mold. I don't think I'm going to do any fancy swirls or even attempt it, knowing ahead of time that we might be moving along very quickly with trace. So let me go ahead and just get my lye water and oils going here. I'm soaping cool. If you soap at a cooler temperature, it will also help not accelerate trace. So pretty much I'm at room temperature right now. I actually mixed up my lye solution last night and covered it with some saran and let that sit overnight. I usually master batch my lye water, but I've run out of that. I need to make another batch. So we are really just at a very thin emulsion stage. I'm going to stop right there. It doesn't take much. And I'm going to start separating into smaller containers and work with color. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is have a tan layer on the bottom to represent the beach sand, and then I'm going to work with some blues and greens and whites, either drop swirl or in the pot swirl. I'll just have to see how fast that moves once I add fragrance. So I'm just going to kind of improvise. So I'm going to pour off maybe about 3 cups of the batter. I think I'm going to work with this first, mainly just to see how quickly it traces. It doesn't matter to me if this gets thick, because it's just going to be solid brown tan going into that mold. And I actually want it to be a little thick because I'm going to try to make some peaks on the top to make it look like sand, little peaks of sand. So what I'm working with here is Brambleberry Cappuccino Mica, and I'm not going to put in much because I don't want this to be very dark. We're just going to try a little as we go. Now I'm going to add my fragrance oil. Well, you know what? I'm going to get my mold ready because I really don't know how fast this is going to move, and I want to be ready to plop it in the mold. So let me grab that. So just like in my previous video, I'm using the Nurture Soap Supplies 5-pound loaf mold with sides that come out and the green silicone liner in it. And as you may recall, if you watched my video when I made the honey drizzled oatmeal, I am trying very hard to fall in love with silicone molds. I love the convenience of them. When they work well, I like the look of the really sleek, clean look on the sides of the soap, but I just don't like how sometimes it takes the soap a little bit longer to set up. I know you can do things like add sodium lactate to your soap. I do a water discount, so there's some things that you can do that do help, but you know, for me, that nothing really beats that lined wood mold in terms of soap setting up. Here's my fragrance oil. As I said, this is the Crafter's Choice brand of Beach. It's supposed to be a dupe of Bobbi Brown Beach. I think it probably smells really close. And again, to me, it just smells like summer. So I'm going to go ahead and pour off about 1/4 of what I have in here. I have about 1/2 cup, about 4 ounces really, to oh, they weren't kidding. I can already feel it getting thick on me. It is moving very fast. You can see it's starting to even rice a little bit. So I'm going to start stirring a lot. I can try to manage this. Definitely not doing any kind of fancy swirls with this. You can see ricing. I'm going to try to stir through this, but this is room temperature soaping, and I no sooner poured in just a little itty bitty bit and it started really getting thick on me. So boy, I really just hate when that happens. Definitely stirring more than what I normally do, but I want to get through that. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get this in the mold so that we can move on. And what I'm hoping is that the texture of it cures okay, or sets up okay. Wow, that was a fast mover for sure. So, makes me want to go on and write a review of that and really stress that they weren't kidding when they said that was going to accelerate trace. I think it's still workable. So what I'd like to do is I'm just going to kind of play around and create a little bit of texture. So I'm just taking my spoon and adding some texture. Bring back my original batter. Give it a stir. And I'm going to pour this into 3 separate containers. One for my what's going to be chromium green oxide. One for ultramarine blue. And one for my white that I'm going to whiten up with some titanium dioxide. Okay, so I've got my batter separated into 3 different cups. One for my chromium green oxide, one for my ultramarine blue, and one for my white titanium dioxide. So let's start with the chromium green. I'm going to put, I've got this, I pre-mixed my colors in a little bit of carrier oil. I use sweet almond oil. So let's do a teaspoon of that mixture. The next we're going to do is the ultramarine blue. Start off with about a half a teaspoon of that and see how that does to start. Okay, so ultramarine blue, hydrated chromium green oxide, and now I've got a little bit of white. And I'm thinking that I'm not going to add any fragrance oil to this white. I'm afraid that it will discolor, and I don't want that. So again, I've got my titanium dioxide pre-mixed in my carrier oil. We're going to start with about a teaspoon and a half. Let's see how that does. I'd like this to be a fairly white. Titanium dioxide and I just have a love-hate relationship. I like white soaps, I really do. I like having that white accent in my soaps, but I went through a terrible time with glycerin rivers, which is a little crackled effect that sometimes is more evident when you use titanium dioxide. I tried a lot of different things, and finally switching brands kind of helped a little bit. So sometimes it's trial and error. I don't know if there was any science to that or if I just got lucky and it was a coincidence, but for what it's worth, titanium dioxide has been a challenge sometimes. But I'm not going to fragrance the white because I'm worried about it discoloring. I just add a little bit more. I hope I'm not overdoing it. When you overdo your titanium dioxide, you're going to really run a risk of getting that steric crackle or those glycerin rivers. So remember, no fragrance oil in the white, and I'm splitting it between my 2 colored containers. Let's see what happens. Getting very thick, very thick, very thick. I really don't even know if this is going to let me do what I want to do, but we're going to try. So it's thick, but it's workable. So let's hope that this one is too. Keep stirring. Same thing, thick but workable. So I might get lucky. Let's see how things go. I really don't want to leave anything sit for too long. I'm gonna get this titanium dioxide just little bit thicker here. Oops. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is start with kind of spoon plopping these in. So let me go ahead and do some blue. Again, I really am happy with the colors. I just see, this is manageable. It's thick. My gray just really, or I'm sorry, my tan just kind of raced up on me a little bit more than the others. And now I think I'm going to do what I'm doing is I'm kind of trying to fill in where I didn't get the ultramarine blue. And we'll see how this goes. Definitely workable. Hopefully it stays that way. Okay. So now I'm going to, if you hear that squeaking, it's my drawer. I can actually just pour some of this in here. It's that thin. And I don't want a lot of white in here. I just want a little bit. I'm going to just kind of drizzle it, in fact, I think like this. Maybe it's good that it's thin, because I think it'll fill in some of those cracks and crevices that the thicker batter is leaving behind. Okay, I think that's good for now. So now we're going to come back and do our ultramarine blue. And we're just going to plop that in, just like we did before. Plopping it in. And then we'll come back and do the same thing with our, tamp this down so we don't get any air bubbles. Definitely more workable than the tan was, so that could be an issue of color. I want to leave a little bit of my colors to play with on top. So let me do a little bit of my white now to fill in the gaps. This is getting a little bit thicker. So now I'm going to try to put my white on top of my colors for that contrast. Okay. I think what I'm going to do now is just add a little bit of the blue on top of the white. Not going to do much. I'm going to save a little bit to work with. Color on top. And going to fill the rest in with the white, accenting it with the colors. So I'm going to try to cover this as much as I can in the white. It might be a little bit short, but that's okay. We won't get a complete cover. That's all right. Wipe up my mess here. Okay, I'm going to bring this a little bit closer to me now. So, I have a little bit of these batters left, and I'm going to try to use them to decorate the top a little bit with some accent colors. So you're going to see me just put little plops. I'm going to do the same with the ultramarine blue. I have a little bit more of that. So I'm going to, or I'm sorry, chromium green oxide. Keep mixing up my colors. I'm just so happy that this worked, because on that first tan layer I was really concerned. I sure hope that it sets up okay and looks decent when we cut. Okay. It smells so good. Really does. Alright, so if you watched my video of me making the honey drizzled oatmeal, you know that texturizing the tops is the part that just really stresses me out. I don't know why. It still does. I've been doing this for years, and it still stresses me out because I just want to get it right. And there really is no right or wrong. So usually I take a spoon and I just start working on the edge like this. Okay. Final product. A little bit of a difficult fragrance oil to work with, especially when I mixed it with that cappuccino mica. It wasn't nearly as bad when I mixed it with the oxide, so there could be some kind of interaction between the colors. So I'm going to go ahead and spritz it with alcohol. I always spritz the tops of my soap with the 91% alcohol. pretty liberally. And I'm going to slide my cover in. In my last video I mentioned you have to be careful with this depending on how high your tops are. I think I'm okay. I'm good. And so that's the top for this. So it's a nice, clean, clear top. Keeps the air out, which reduces the soda ash, but lets you kind of peek at it. So thanks so much for joining me. Come back in a couple days when I show you the cutting video, and we'll see the damage on that tan layer at the bottom and see how things turned out. But I'm optimistic and hopeful that I will have something resembling something kind of beachy or ocean. So I definitely like the tops. I think it looks like ocean waves. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for joining me. Subscribe to my channel to keep updated, and happy soaping.